My Best Picture marathon has now reached number 36. Best Picture marathon theme song. By the early 1960s, more and more movies were getting away with things that would never have been allowed under the production code during its heyday. That's very evident in the winner for 1963, Tom Jones. Whoa, not that Tom Jones. The film directed by Tony Richardson, although the famous Welsh singer did get his stage name from this movie. This movie's often one of the lowest ranked Best Picture winners, but I don't think it's bad. Based on an 18th century novel by Henry Fielding, Tom Jones tells the story of an orphan raised by a wealthy landowner. Tom grows up to be quite the ladies' man, causing many scandals. He's in love with Sophie. She's a lady. Whoa. And the daughter of his wealthy neighbor. I know I keep referencing the singer Tom Jones. It's not unusual. And Sophie's in love with him too, but his low birth and his scandalous sex life threaten to derail any hopes they have for marriage. This is my first time watching the film and I was really excited about a comedy winning Best Picture. That doesn't happen often enough. But I found myself having a really hard time getting into this one. For the first 20 or 30 minutes, it felt like the zany music was doing a lot of the heavy lifting, but as the movie went on, I got more and more into it. Albert Finney is quite likable in the title role. Finney would go on to appear in such diverse films as Annie, Miller's Crossing, Big Fish, and Skyfall. Sophie's played by Susanna York, who would later play Kal-El's Kryptonian mother in Superman. Her father is played by Hugh Griffith, who won an Oscar for his supporting role in Ben-Hur, and I think he's the funniest part of this movie. He's a hoot. He was drunk most of the time on set and actually fell off his horse at one point, and they put it in the film. But my favorite Hugh Griffith role was the King of France in Start the Revolution Without Me. Hilarious! Tom's adopted father's legitimate son is played by David Warner in his very first film role. He's quite good as the sort of stuck-up snob that the film is constantly poking fun at. And in the middle of the film, we have an early appearance by Julian Glover, who would later appear in Quatermass in the Pit, For Your Eyes Only, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and even Game of Thrones. I actually got to meet Julian Glover at a Comic-Con a few years back, and he was super nice. Apparently this was not a fun movie to make. The English weather was often unpleasant to film in, and many of the cast and crew members did not get along. Albert Finney really didn't like his character. Even the director, Tony Richardson, felt like the film was more lucky than good. Nevertheless, the film was a critical and commercial success. To me, Tom Jones represents some of the most innovative elements of 60s filmmaking, as well as some of the most irritating elements of 60s filmmaking. Apparently, the editing and cinematography were heavily influenced by the techniques of the French New Wave movement, though ideologically the filmmaking is very different. At times it's a pretty goofy film, satirically subverting the tropes of stuffy period dramas, while also cheekily subverting the tropes of cinema itself. Not all of it works, but when it does work, it's pretty funny. I think my favorite part of this movie was the reintroduction of the character played by Jack McGowran. The character's life is ruined at the beginning of the film when he's suspected of being Tom Jones's birth father, which he's not. In order to make ends meet, he becomes a highwayman, but he's completely ineffectual at it. Anytime a comedy wins Best Picture, I think it's time to celebrate, although I certainly don't think this is the best movie of 1963. None of my favorite movies from that year were even nominated for Best Picture, although Fellini's 8.5 did win Best Foreign Film. Coming up next, My Fair Lady. I'll catch you then.